If the dollar were to collapse, what are some assets you should consider? My name is Darius.
And I'm Carmen. By the end of this video, we are going to share with you 5 options you should consider before the dollar collapses. Now, we actually wrote a blog article on this very topic. You can research it here or in the link below. And this topic actually was trending on Google. So clearly you all want to talk about it. So let's have a conversation about this very thing.
Now, the key word Carmen said is before it happens. So that means you need to be proactive and not reactive. Now, the proactive approach, which we want to talk about today, is the fact that one of the things that you should consider investing in is gold or storing your money. Now, the reason why gold is practical because it is a limited supply of it, and you can't print anymore like how you can the US dollar. So there's a limited supply of gold, silver, other precious metals.
Yeah.
One of the downsides to it is the fact that it doesn't store very well, which is why people like invest in like a gold IRA as an example. But it's one thing to consider if you want to preserve your money where it is right now.
Now, I think what we should do too is also say, we're not endorsing any of these options, right? We're just sharing ideas and options with you because we've had this conversation before of what would we do? So the very first point, like Darius said, is precious metals. Look into that. But before we even go into the rest of them, I think we all have to we have to paint the picture of if the dollar were to collapse, it would be a problem, right? Because the dollar is the world reserve currency. So we have to consider not just the US being in a pickle or in a tizzy, the rest of the world would be in a tizzy. And so we really have to comprehend what does that mean? You go to the grocery store, your dollars are not accepted. You go to pay your electricity bill, gas bill, the gas station, your dollars will not be accepted. So that's why we have to paint this picture. You really got to get this into your head, because when people ask us this question, it's we're literally asking what is the world going to look like? Because again, this is going to affect anything that we're sharing on this video and the value of it. So that's why precious metals, first and foremost, would probably be very valuable because of the limited supply, right? And just really going back to what is the exchange, what is the new currency, right? Because it doesn't even have to be a dollar. Currency could be exchanging an iPhone, right? What is that currency going to be looking like?
That sounds like the barter system.
Back in the day, I got 2 chickens, you got a mule. What we gonna do, right? So, I mean, you have to figure out the value of the things that we have because you just don't know what it's going to look like.
So that was one thing to consider, precious metal. The second thing to consider, if we take a look at what's happened in Venezuela and Argentina, one thing they did is they switched over to kind of like a cryptocurrency. That may be an option for you also as the second thing you may want to consider. But we also seen where Bitcoin took a splash this year. But then again, if you go back to the dollar collapsing, what options do you have?
Not many.
The reason why we're making this video is because a lot of people ask this question. So what we're considering are things that can be a hedge against the dollar, right? So far we have precious metal and we have cryptocurrency.
Yeah. And even going back to Darius and I have even just experienced the fact that when we travel, for example, we were traveling in South America and we weren't in Venezuela. We were very close to it. We were in Colombia. And the Venezuelan dollar was just on the floor, trash,
the wind's blowing and there's
dollars being swept up. So
Venezuelan
I cannot fully conceptualize yet what that would mean if the American dollar again was just in the streets blowing around like a napkin. Again, that's why I don't know if everyone is really taking this concept into consideration, because when we get to that point, it's going to be a problem. If we get to that point, it's going to be a problem. So what we've talked about is precious metals, crypto. The next thing could potentially be foreign currencies. So what does that look like? Does that look like Chinese currency, Japanese currency? Does that look like the euro? These are just another option that you can think about, because when we look at the US dollar not being backed by
the central bank or the government, one thing we may consider is foreign currency.
Yeah, exactly.
And which is why we brought up the yuan and the yen and the euro, because it's not backed by us, so to speak.
Yeah, well, and in the sense of that there's value tied to it. And
it may survive the dollar collapse.
Exactly.
It could be a pretty I think all of this is just interesting just to kind of think about and conceptualize, especially with our experience with being so close to Venezuela and Colombia and being able to talk to the people from Venezuela. Just the whole idea of if this was to happen in the U.S., how big that would just be on a global scale.
Absolutely.
And these are some things that I think is a very important topic to have because other countries have experienced it, but just on a global scale, I think I can't not go back to the fact that we would be in a really interesting situation if this was to happen.
Absolutely. And then still going through foreign currencies, then the option is looking at foreign stocks, right? The option is then also looking into maybe mutual funds, for example. And then the next point would also be real estate, thinking about what does real estate look like? Because we know many of you are investors. A lot of you, because you follow the Wealth Nation channel, we love real estate. We know you do too. So what does real estate even look like if the dollar were to crash?
Well, the good thing about real estate is that regardless of what the currency is or the way of exchange is, the house will still hold its value. So you can trade it for whatever the currency is. That's one of the reasons why people like real estate is because it's something that you need. You need food, water, and shelter.
Yeah.
As a part of what Maslow's hierarchy of human needs are. Those are the things that we need.
Yeah. So the real conversation that we want to have with you guys is like, at the end of the day, what our understanding is that you can't just have one of any of these assets, right? Because they don't guarantee enough protection. So usually you have to do a combination of both or of all of them, right? Because we've talked about this in previous videos where the true meaning of diversification doesn't just mean what are you diversifying inside your stock portfolio. The true meaning of diversification means that you have to have your money in different asset classes. And so what we were sharing with you today is the different asset classes that you maybe should entertain, look into, and start doing your research to understand how can you spread your money around. Because the realistic thing is that the average man who is working a 9-to-5 it can be challenging for them to get into having their money in multiple asset classes. So that's why it's important for us to continue to have this conversation, to continue to educate one another in understanding how to best protect ourselves. So, the other thing too that we always talk about on the Wealth Nation channel is whole life insurance, right? And protecting your family. So, with creating our own banking system, essentially, it's not common. It's not one of those things that people do, but it's something that we very much value as far as protecting our assets, protecting our family, and making sure, again, that we just have coverage. So again, it's not always going to be a one size fits all approach, but we're just going to share ideas and just having the conversation. Again, that's just what it's about, to just start planting seeds so that you all can start thinking about what do I need to do now, today, to start getting my butt in gear. Because again, we're not just talking about the dollar collapsing. We're just talking about, we could talk about a recession. What are you going to do to continue to not ride the same bicycle and lose money and get back on the bike and lose money and get back on the bike? So what are you doing to be proactive in your financial approach?
Right. And one thing I would say about whole life insurance is the fact that it allows your money to do more, where you can be in multiple places at once, so that you can start putting yourself in a position to be in multiple asset classes so that you can prepare for whatever you think is coming in the future. We don't have a crystal ball. The reason why we're having this conversation is because it's been asked to us, and what we want to do is provide you with information to help you think about what you would do in a specific situation.
And if you want more information, definitely click on the link below. We would love to serve you at the Wealth Nation. And do not respond to any comments, because there are spammers out there acting like they are us. We are not going to ask you to call us on any mysterious numbers or have you click on any links. If you want to contact us, you can do so in the description below.
And if you want to learn more information on different asset classes, then check out our next video where we talk about multiple asset classes.
And don't forget to own your own lifestyle,
or someone else will.